Souls who crave the strange, let me lead you to a harsh but fascinating land, the Taklamakan Desert. Here, sand and wind have hidden a secret for thousands of years, a forgotten chapter of human history. From the depths of this harsh desert, the incredible has been revealed, the Tarim Mummies. Miraculously preserved by the arid climate, they emerge with golden hair, deep blue eyes and a distinctly Western facial structure. Their presence in this Far East, dating back thousands of years, has challenged all assumptions about human history and migration. Who were these mysterious people? Where did they come from, and why were they in such a remote place? The Tarim mummies are not just archaeological relics, but souls returned from the dust, carrying whispers of a past that we are still trying to decipher. Let your imagination run wild, as we embark on an adventure through space and time, uncovering the secrets of the first Westerners in the Far East, buried beneath the golden sands of Taklamakan. The Taklamakan Desert, whose name echoes like a curse in ancient legends, means if you enter, you will never exit. Deep in the Tarim Basin, in the far west of the vast Xinjiang region of the People's Republic of China, it is a land of extremes. Its harshness is evident not only in the fierce sandstorms that can swallow entire caravans in an instant, or the terrifying temperature swings from sub-zero winters to scorching summers. It is also in its utter desolation, a vast expanse of sand and wind, where life can barely survive on the edges of tiny oases fed by the meltwater from the surrounding majestic mountain ranges of the Tian Shan to the north and the Kunlun Mountains to the south. It is precisely this harshness that makes Taklamakan a priceless treasure trove of history. Not a literal treasure trove of gold and silver, but a giant natural museum, a sand tomb that preserves the relics of time in a way that no other place in the world can. The extremely dry climate, combined with the special geological conditions of the soil and minerals in the ground, has created the perfect environment for the natural process of self-mummification. When a creature dies and is buried in the dry sand, the cells do not have time to decompose due to the lack of moisture and bacteria. Instead, they gradually dehydrate, shrink and freeze, turning the body into an almost miraculously preserved mummy. These are not mummies treated with chemicals or complicated embalming techniques like those of Egyptian mummies, but a miracle of nature. And it was from the depths of that harsh desert that something incredible was revealed, shaking the world of archaeology and anthropology. It was the presence of the Tarim mummies. When locals and Western explorers first encountered them in the early 20th century, and especially from the 1970s onwards when larger-scale excavations were carried out, the amazement was indescribable. These mummies, dating from around 1800 BC to 200 AD, were remarkably intact. Their skin was parched, their hair was still clinging to their scalps, and even their clothes, jewelry, and facial features were clearly visible, as if they had just fallen into a 1,000-year sleep and could wake up at any moment. But what made these mummies such a haunting mystery, beyond the miracle of their preservation, were their physical features. In stark contrast to the traditional image of dark-haired, dark-eyed Asians that we associate with the Far East, the Tarim mummies had distinctly Caucasoid, or Western, features. Their hair was often blonde, reddish-brown, or light brown. Their eyes, though dry, were suggestive of deep blue, gray, or green. Their noses were straight and high, their teeth were well formed, and their facial structure, with prominent cheekbones and deep-set eye sockets, was distinctly Eurasian. Who were these people? Where did they come from? Why did they appear in a remote place like northwestern China, deep in the heart of this harsh desert, thousands of years before the Silk Road was widely established? These questions have haunted scientists, historians, and mystery enthusiasts. The presence of these Western mummies has challenged traditional understandings of human history and migration across the Eurasian continent. It has sparked heated debates about whether there is a forgotten chapter of history, a mysterious civilization that once settled here, among the Asian tribes and empires. In the first decades after their discovery, theories ranged from lost soldiers, stranded traders, or even exiled prisoners. But the more excavations were carried out, and the more mummies were found at different sites, with different cultural and temporal characteristics, the more complex and mysterious the picture became. It was clear that this was not a single group of people, but a community, a culture that had once flourished in the Tarim Basin. The story of the Tarim mummies is not only an archaeological mystery, but also a philosophical question about the nature of human history and interconnectedness. They are living, though dead, evidence of human mobility, cultural exchange, and the extraordinary adaptability of humans in the most extreme environments. They are spirits returning from the dust, carrying whispers of a forgotten past, a chapter of history that we are still trying to read and understand. It is precisely their anomaly in historical and geographical context that makes them symbols of what we do not know about humanity's distant past. Were there other migration routes, independent cultures, not included in the known history books? Was the cultural and genetic exchange between East and West much earlier and more complex than we once thought? This is just an introduction, a window into the strange and mysterious world of the Tarim mummies. Together we will follow their footsteps, from mysterious coffin boats, to intricately woven garments, and modern scientific analysis, to try to piece together the fragments of a story lost in the dust thousands of years ago. Let your imagination run wild, and listen to the whispers of the desert wind, because we are about to embark on an adventure through time and space, to a land where ancient secrets await to be revealed. Can we decipher the secrets of the first Westerners in the Far East, or will they forever remain mysterious souls, buried under the golden sands of the Taklamakan? Dear souls who have entered the mysterious world of Taklamakan with us, now we will no longer hear vague whispers from the dust, but will directly face the most vivid witnesses of the past, the Tarim mummies. They are souls who have returned from a 1,000-year slumber, bringing with them undeniable evidence of a forgotten historical story, challenging all our assumptions about migration and cultural exchange. The first thing that makes these mummies a wonder is their extraordinary state of preservation. Unlike the Egyptian mummies that were treated with chemicals and complicated procedures, the Tarim mummies were preserved completely naturally. The secret lies in the harsh environment of the Taklamakan Desert. The climate here is extremely dry, with very little rainfall and almost no humidity. When a body is buried in this sand, the water in the body is quickly drained, preventing decomposition by bacteria and mold. In addition, the large temperature difference between day and night, along with the presence of minerals in the soil, especially salt, creates a naturally sterile environment, turning the body into a desiccated form but still retaining its shape and detailed features. The hair, skin, and even the internal organs are also incredibly preserved, as if time had stopped for them. Among the hundreds of mummies discovered, some stand out, becoming symbols of the Tarim mystery. 1. The Sherchan man and his family. In 1985, in an ancient cemetery near Sherchan, Chima, in the southeast of the Tarim Basin, archaeologists discovered a family of almost perfectly preserved mummies. The most prominent was the Sherchan man, a tall man, about 1.80 m tall, with reddish-brown hair braided into thick curls. He wore a reddish-brown woolen coat and trousers, woven with advanced techniques, reminiscent of the clothing of ancient Eurasian nomads. His face had a high nose, a square chin, and strong teeth. Buried with him were a young woman, with strawberry blonde hair, and a newborn baby. Notably, the baby is wrapped in a colorful wool blanket and wears a small pointed hat, with stones and feathers, details that are typical of nomadic culture. The family, believed to have lived around 1000 BC, is strong evidence of a long-term settlement and the existence of a Western community. 2. Lulan Beauty, discovered in 1980 in Lulan, an ancient city buried in sand near Lob Nor. The Lulan Beauty is one of the most famous mummies. Dating back to around 1800 BC, she was a young woman, estimated to be around 40 years old when she died, standing around 152 centimeters tall. What makes her special is her long, auburn hair that is still intact, her large eyes, and her distinctly Eurasian facial features. She was buried in an overturned wooden boat-shaped coffin, a unique burial method that we will learn more about later. She was dressed in a coarse woolen cloak and leather shoes, suggesting simplicity but also a nomadic lifestyle. Her delicate beauty and near-perfect preservation have made her a symbol of mystery for the Tarim mummies. 3. Xiaohe Cemetery, small river cemetery discovered in the early 20th century but only fully excavated in the 2000s. Xiaohe Cemetery is one of the most important sites, providing insight into the culture and beliefs of the ancient Tarim people. Here, more than 200 mummies were buried in overturned wooden boat-shaped coffins, placed on vertical wooden poles, resembling rows of columns or giant fertility symbols rising from the sand. The boats were covered with cowhide, and many mummies were wrapped in intricately woven cloth, demonstrating advanced wool-weaving techniques. The mummies at Xiaohe include men, women, and children of all ages, and all have distinctly Western features. Notably, many men had tall wooden fertility poles next to their coffins, while women had smaller wooden poles, symbolizing gender and fertility, a unique belief not seen in other cultures in the region. The burial objects found with the mummies also tell a story. In addition to the elaborately woven wool and felt garments, we find pointed hats, leather boots, precious stone and metal jewelry, and household items such as wooden bowls. In particular, the discovery of well-preserved chariots, whether specimens or parts, at the Tarim sites is a key piece of evidence that these people may have been masters of the horse and chariot, a technology that originated in the Eurasian steppe. The textile patterns also recall designs from ancient European cultures. The presence of these people, with their distinctly Western appearance and culture, deep in Asia, raises a big question: how did they get here? Were they nomads who migrated from the distant steppes of the West, in search of new pastures, or were they traders, explorers, ahead of their time, opening the first trade routes between East and West? The Tarim mummies, with their mysterious appearance, are not just dry bones in the sand. They are living pages of history, inviting us to turn each page, to learn about a past of which we still know very little. They are undeniable evidence of human mobility, of cultural exchanges across borders and races, that took place thousands of years before Christ. The story of these souls returning from the dust is only just beginning to unfold. Souls who have joined us in admiring the strange appearance of the Tarim mummies, we now delve deeper into the mysteries that modern science has begun to reveal. If their appearance is astonishing enough, the evidence hidden deep within their cells, in their DNA, tells an even more fascinating story, a clear whisper of their far western origins and ancient migration routes that have redrawn the map of human history. In recent years, with the rapid advancement of genetic analysis technology, scientists have been able to extract and decode ancient DNA, ADNA, from well-preserved Tarim mummies. The results have surprisingly confirmed, the majority of these mummies have a Caucasoid Eurasian genetic origin. Specifically, studies have shown the presence of genetic markers, haplogroups, commonly found in populations from Central Asia, the Pontic-Caspian steppe, and even Europe. Further analysis, particularly the study of the genomes of mummies from the Xiaohe necropolis, the earliest dated site, came to a shocking conclusion in 2021. They found that the ancient Tarim people were an admixed population, with ancestors descended from two main groups: 1, an ancient group with no signs of genetic admixture. This was an isolated population, originating from the Siberian Paleolithic, ancient North Eurasians, A&E, with some genes related to Neolithic cultures in Northeast Asia. This suggests that they may have been an ancient indigenous group of the steppes and forests of northern Asia, who later migrated down to the Tarim Basin. 2. A group descended from western steppe herders, WSH. These are the genetic carriers of cultures such as the Yamnaya and Afanasevo from the Pontic-Caspian and Altai steppes. These cultures are famous for their ability to domesticate horses, develop chariots, and migrate widely across Europe and Central Asia during the late Neolithic and early Bronze Age. This suggests that the first Tarim people were not a single wave of migration, but rather the result of multiple waves of migration and genetic mixing over thousands of years. It is possible that an ancient indigenous group met and mingled with nomads from the western steppes, bringing with them new skills such as large-scale animal husbandry, metallurgy, and especially chariot technology. The presence of Yamnaya and Afanasevo genetics in the Tarim Basin is an extremely important piece of evidence. These cultures are considered the ancestors of many Indo-European languages and had a profound influence on cultural and technological developments across Eurasia. Finding their genetic traces so far into the Far East suggests a scale and complexity of ancient migrations that far exceeds what we have previously known. In addition to DNA, items found with the mummies also reinforce the Western connection. Woolen weaving, woolen and felt fabrics found on mummies and in Tarim tombs show advanced weaving techniques, especially the twill, tartan, technique, which was common in ancient European cultures, e.g., the Hallstatt culture. The quality and sophistication of these textiles indicate a highly developed industry, far beyond what was known in neighboring cultures at the time. Clothing, the robes, trousers, and pointed hats of the Tarim mummies bear many similarities to the clothing of nomadic and semi-nomadic peoples of the Eurasian steppe, chariots and horse husbandry. The discovery of chariot remains and evidence of the use of horses as a means of transportation and a source of food suggest a culture closely tied to the animal. Horses and chariots are symbols of Eurasian steppe cultures, pioneers in long-distance travel and cultural exchange. These findings shed new light on the history of the Silk Road. Before the Han dynasty's Zhongqian formally opened the Silk Road in the 2nd century BC, it seems that there were already informal routes of trade and migration long before. These Tarim people may have been the pioneers of the ancient East-West trade network, the first bridges between distant civilizations. They carried not only goods but also their culture, technology, language, and even their genes, stretching thousands of kilometers. They may have been traders, herders in search of new pastures, or warriors, who established trade routes and settled in the fertile oases of the Tarim Basin. Their presence made the Tarim a cultural and technological hotbed, a melting pot of ideas and skills from both East and West. But the truth is not so simple. Despite their Western genetic origins, the Tarim mummies are a unique mix, unlike any other modern population in Europe or Central Asia. This suggests a complex story of isolation, genetic mixing with other indigenous or migratory groups, and their own unique evolutionary history in the wilderness. These genetic and archaeological traces are the clearest whispers from the West, helping us redraw the map of ancient human migration. We are not just finding mummies, but uncovering a new chapter in the history of global connectivity dating back thousands of years BC, a vivid picture of human resilience and adaptability in our relentless journey. The story of the Western wanderers who found a second home in the Far East is still largely untold. Dear souls who thirst for truth, after witnessing the terrifying collapse of Atlantis in the raging sea, the most haunting question remains: was it just a myth woven by Plato to teach a lesson, or is there a heartbreaking truth about a great city that once existed, now sunk deep under the ocean? Over thousands of years, the desire to solve this mystery has urged countless explorers, scientists, and dreamers to plunge into the depths of the sea, searching for the remaining traces of a lost world. From ancient times to the present day, the search for Atlantis has never ceased. Scholars of the Greek and Roman eras have fiercely debated the veracity of the story. Some considered it a philosophical metaphor, while others believed that Plato was telling a true story. As Europe entered the age of discovery, with its ocean-going ships, the desire to find Atlantis grew even more intense. From the icy Nordics to the warm Caribbean, from the remote Mediterranean to the vast oceans, countless locations have been proposed as the legendary city's final resting place. Among the underwater discoveries that have been linked to Atlantis, some stand out, although their authenticity remains a matter of debate. 1. The Bimini Road, Bahamas. In the 1960s, near the island of Bimini in the Bahamas, divers discovered a strange rock formation on the seabed. It was a road about 800 meters long, made up of thousands of rectangular and polygonal limestone blocks, arranged in a remarkably straight line. Proponents of the Atlantis hypothesis argue that this could not be a natural formation, but rather the remains of a wall, a harbor, or even a road from an ancient sunken city. The shape and arrangement of the rock suggest a man-made structure, a trace of human hands. They suggest that the location of Bimini, located in the Caribbean, could correspond to the western edge of Atlantis or be part of its network of outposts. However, mainstream geologists argue that this is simply a natural phenomenon, called a weathered coast, where rocks are broken and arranged by geological processes and tides over thousands of years. Still, the strange perfection of this road still makes many people think. 2. The Yonaguni Monument, Japan. in the mid-1980s, off the coast of Japan's Yonaguni Island, divers discovered a massive underwater stone structure that shocked the archaeological world. It was a giant step structure that resembled a pyramid or an ancient castle, with sharp angles, distinct steps, and smooth flat surfaces. It was nearly 25 meters high, and about 150 meters wide. Many believe it was a man-made structure, an ancient city or temple that sank due to a major earthquake. Proponents of this theory point to the straight cuts, right angles, and shapes like human faces or animal statues carved into the stone. If it was man-made, it could date back as far as 10,000 years. Which is roughly the same time as the fall of Atlantis, according to Plato. Geologists, on the other hand, believe that Yonaguni is simply a natural rock formation, created by wind, wave, and tectonic erosion. Yet its perfect angles and strange symmetry remain a mystery that has yet to be fully solved. Movements of the Earth's crust and sea level changes. Over thousands of years, the Earth's crust has been constantly moving. Large earthquakes, volcanic activity, and shifting tectonic plates can cause entire continents or large islands to sink into the sea. Furthermore, sea levels have also changed significantly over Earth's history, especially after the last ice age. Global sea levels have risen tens of meters, which can submerge coastal lands or small islands. Geologists believe that if Atlantis existed, it may have sunk due to a combination of these factors. Thera volcano and the Minoan connection. One of the strongest geological theories regarding Atlantis is its connection to the eruption of the Thera, Santorini, volcano around 1600 BC. The eruption is believed to have been one of the largest in human history, causing a huge tsunami and a thick cloud of ash that devastated the Minoan civilization on Crete and neighboring islands. Some scholars have suggested that the story of Atlantis may have been a distant memory, passed down through the generations, of this disaster. While the date and location do not exactly match Plato's account, Thera was much smaller and closer to Greece. It does show that a thriving civilization could be completely destroyed by a natural disaster in a day and a night. This provides practical evidence that disasters like Atlantis are not impossible. These relentless searches, while yet to yield any incontrovertible evidence of Atlantis, keep the legend alive. Each new discovery at the bottom of the sea, whether later explained as natural or not, ignites a new ray of hope, a new whisper from the depths. We wonder, is the sea itself trying to hide this great secret, or is it simply challenging humans to persevere in their search? And in the fog of doubt, the question still hovers: is Atlantis a forgotten memory of a city that once really existed, or is it just a great moral lesson dressed up in legend? Whatever the answer, the desire to find the truth still drives us to continue our journey into the depths of the ocean, where eternal secrets await. Brave souls who dare to look into the abyss of the unknown, after searching for the physical traces of Atlantis, we now enter the realm of the most daring speculations, where the line between myth and science becomes blurred. This is a chapter about the curse of disappearance, about superior technology, and about the incredible theories that have haunted the human mind about Atlantis, a city that not only sank deep under the sea, but also contained secrets beyond all mortal understanding. One of the most shocking whispers about Atlantis is the theory of a civilization with superior technology, even beyond what we have today. Plato hinted at their sophistication, but later folklore and scholars have taken the idea even further. They believe that the Atlanteans possessed not only advanced architecture and irrigation, but also technologies related to energy, magnetism, and even levitation. The center of these theories often revolves around giant energy crystals. Stories say that Atlantis had great crystals, which were used to collect and amplify energy from the sun, the Earth's magnetic field, or even the universe itself. These crystals not only powered the entire city, illuminating the streets and palaces with brilliant light, but could also be used to control the climate, move giant objects with the mind, or even communicate with other dimensions. Some even believe that it was the misuse or overuse of these crystals that caused the ultimate disaster, causing them to explode or go out of control, sinking Atlantis. The disappearance of Atlantis has also been linked to other mysteries of the world, most notably the Bermuda Triangle. Many believe that this deadly sea, where countless ships and planes have disappeared without a trace, is where the remaining energy crystals of Atlantis are active. They claim that these crystals, even though they are deep under the sea, still emit unusual energy or magnetic fields, causing equipment to malfunction, or even opening temporary, space-time portals that swallow everything that passes through. Could these mysterious disappearances be the echoes of a lost civilization, an energy curse left over from an ancient disaster? An even more unlikely theory is that of the survivors or descendants of Atlantis. Although Plato did not explicitly mention it, folklore around the world tells of mysterious individuals with superior knowledge who emerged in ancient civilizations after the disaster of Atlantis. They are said to be the last Atlanteans, who escaped the Great Flood and brought with them knowledge of agriculture, architecture, astronomy, and even ancient magic. This knowledge later became the basis for the development of the Egyptian, Mayan, or pre-Inca civilizations, explaining their mysterious feats. This theory even goes so far as to talk of genetic memory, that some of the knowledge of Atlantis is still hidden deep in the DNA of some modern people, waiting to be awakened. And indispensable in the treasure trove of fantastical theories about Atlantis is the connection with aliens. Some believe that Atlantis was not a purely mortal civilization, but a colony or an outpost of intelligent beings from the stars. It was these gods who brought the Atlanteans superior technology and knowledge, making them such an advanced civilization. The fall of Atlantis, in this hypothesis, could have been due to the withdrawal of the alien visitors, or some cosmic conflict, which left them abandoned and destroyed. Stories about ancient astronauts often mention Atlantis as evidence of alien intervention in human history. Although there is no concrete scientific evidence to confirm these theories, they still exist and thrive in the minds of those who yearn for the extraordinary. They are not just stories, but answers to a deep human desire, the desire for a more glorious past, a more technologically advanced future, and a universe that is not alone. These theories, however unbelievable, have been and are still driving people to constantly search, to constantly dream about what is lost and what might exist beyond our understanding. And perhaps, it is in this blend of vague reality and fantastic stories that we can truly feel the beauty of the Atlantis legend. A secret that refuses to be fully solved, a curse of disappearance that has turned a city into an eternal symbol of the extraordinary. The ocean remains silent, but the whispers of Atlantis, of energy crystals, of visitors from the stars, will forever echo in the minds of those who dare to believe in the impossible. O souls who have traveled with me through the harsh sands of Taklamakan, through the millennial faces of the Tarim Mummies, and through the whispers of ancient languages. Now we stand at the end of the story, where all the pieces come together, and the mystery of the ancient Westerners in the Far East is contemplated in the light of knowledge and reflection. In previous sections, we have explored extraordinary survival, the Tarim mummies, remarkably preserved by the arid climate of the Taklamakan Desert, offer a first-hand glimpse into a distant past, physical and genetic characteristics, with their golden hair, blue eyes, and Western facial bone structure, along with DNA evidence of Eurasian origin, specifically from Western steppe populations and an isolated ancient indigenous group. They have shattered traditional assumptions about human migration in Asia, cultural and technological footprint, their elaborately woven woolen garments, metallurgy, and use of horses and chariots suggest close links to Eurasian steppe cultures. Linguistic echoes, the discovery of the Tocharian language, an easternmost Indo-European branch, further cemented their Western nature and their role as important cultural bridges on the ancient Silk Road. Mysterious disappearance. Although no single cause has been identified, the decline of the Tarim culture may have been due to a combination of climate change, desertification, river changes, pressure from powerful neighboring empires, and slow cultural assimilation. So, what do these discoveries really mean for human history? Rewriting the history of migration, the Tarim mummies have forced us to reconsider the extent and timing of large-scale migrations. They demonstrate that the exchange of cultures and races across the Eurasian continent took place earlier, more complexly, and on a much larger scale than traditional historical accounts have ever acknowledged. A picture of ancient cultural diversity. The Tarim Basin was not an isolated landmass, but a melting pot of cultures. This is where people of Western origin lived, or at least existed, alongside Asian groups, creating a diverse cultural melting pot from thousands of years BC. The role of the Silk Road, the mummies and the Tocharian language show that the Silk Road was not just a trade route opened by the Han dynasty. It was the development of a precursor network of exchanges, a system of trails and relationships that existed much earlier, pioneered by nomads and cultural groups such as the Tarim mummies. They were important links in spreading goods, technologies, ideas and beliefs, such as Buddhism, between East and West. Yet, despite the many secrets that science has revealed, the Tarim mummies remain somewhat of a mystery. The story of their ultimate disappearance, and why this culture left no clear descendants in the modern populations of the Tarim, instead, later Turkic groups came to dominate, remains a subject of heated debate. Were they completely assimilated, or did some major event wipe them out of history? When we look at the perfectly preserved faces of the Lulon beauty or the Sherchan man, we do not see mere skeletons. We see people who lived, breathed, loved, and fought on this land. We see echoes of a distant past, a reminder that human history is far more complex than we have ever imagined. The Taklamakan Desert, the keeper of these secrets, remains silent, never revealing the whole truth. It has preserved them, and it has hidden them from the world for thousands of years. The Tarim mummies are a constant invitation to human curiosity, reminding us that, no matter how advanced science may be, there is still so much that lies beyond our understanding and control. That this earth, with its vast seas and deep underground, holds secrets greater than any imagination. So, Is the story of the Tarim Mummies a solved mystery, or is it still a great challenge? Perhaps the real answer lies not in whether it has been fully solved, but in how it has affected our minds and hearts. It is a beacon of mystery, a reminder that the desire to explore, the desire to seek the extraordinary, is an integral part of human nature, and when you look at the grains of sand blowing in the desert wind, listen. Perhaps, in the whisper of the wind, you will hear the stories of the wanderers of 1,000 years ago, an eternal call from the dust, forever urging us to believe in the impossible, and to continue our endless journey into the sea of mystery.